Good morning and welcome children. In today's English classroom for class 11th, we have taken one lesson from the supplementary reader book Snapshot. The name of the lesson is Mother's Day by J.B. Priestley. It's a play, one act play. So it's a long one, so I have divided into 2 to 3 parts. Okay, the first I will talk about part 1 today. As you know, the name suggests Mother's Day. You know, the Mother's Day is celebrated around the world. What's the reason? To show our respect. If you see the service of the mother in a family, tremendous service. Okay, and it's a selfless service. They don't, demand anything in return of their service. Okay, but it has been seen in many cases. This play will reflect that the service of the mother, the love of the mother, their contribution in the family, many a time not being given the proper weightage. Those are being taken as a kind of taken for granted. We used to take their services for granted. So that's why we will see that how the author humorously in a kind of comical situation presented the thing. Okay, and it's a kind of severe criticism of this kind of behavior that people used to show to their mothers. Okay, now first we'll try to give the brief introduction of the lesson. The play, written by J.B. Priestley, reveals how a mother's efforts are ignored by her family. It narrates how the family members who work 8-hour shift a day look upon her, although she works for the whole day and all week. After all she does for them, they take her for granted. They make her feel obliged to provide for them and do not even appreciate her efforts. It revolves around how her friend Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is a fortune teller, helps her earn the place and respect she deserves as the woman of the house. Now, before going into the other parts like the characters and everything, I want to show you one video. Just watch that video and try to understand the contribution of mother, how mother are almighty.
There are those who say that this is ordinary, but don't let that fool you. Mother will always be the bravest, least ordinary, most difficult, utterly challenging career that anyone ever hopes to lay claim to. While others might hear diaper changer, food maker, laundry doer, carpooler, bottle washer, sweatpants wearer, life on hold, wanna be doing anything else woman. The truth is, whether it feels like it some days or not, you are in fact a shelter from the storm. You are a cape of good hope. You are a warrior who will do battle for your children's hearts, souls, attention, innocence, education, and memories. Go to battle, my friends. This is your time. We will hold strong on either side of you. We will pray for those bottles through the dark watches of the night. And when doubt comes and children break, when adults fail them, and when they push and push as hard against us as the day we deliver them into this world, we will not be broken. We may ache and see cracks tear through our hearts, but we will get up again tomorrow, and we will load the clothes and the words that need to be said again and again and again. And when the world tries to claw at them, to break them, to smash lessons we've told, the truths we've lived, the life we've spoken into them come back easily, predictably, with wash and repeat ease. Kingdom business, Jesus work, this shaping of souls, this raising tiny humans. There are those that say this is ordinary. Don't buy it for a second. Mighty. You are mighty because you mother.
So you have seen the video, isn't it? What has been called? Mothers, you are mighty. You are mighty. You are the mighty soul because you are the mothers. Okay? It means what? That the huge task of looking after the family, looking after the children, right from taking care of them, cooking food, working as a driver, washing the clothes, working as a laundryman, washing the dishes, taking care of the child, feeding them, diaper changer, number of works they used to do. So the mothers had been called the mighty. All right. So we'll now proceed with that text. The following play is a humorous portrayal of the status of mother in a family. Let's read on to see how Mrs. Pearson's family reacts when she tries to stand up for her own rights. First, we'll have a look into the characters. Mrs. Annie Pearson, she's the central character. Okay. Then George Pearson, her husband. Doris Pearson, the daughter, and Cyril Pearson, the son. And Mrs. Fitzgerald is one of the most important character, the key character of the whole play. We'll see that how she has molded, tried to change Mrs. Pearson and her status in her family. What is the fact of the matter in this whole play? We'll see. Before going to the text, I would like to give you overview of the whole lesson. Actually, what we will find that Mrs. Pearson, the family members, you can say Mrs. Annie Pearson, then her husband George Pearson, daughter and son Doris and Cyril. So 4 members were there. George Pearson, Doris and Cyril, both all these 3 members are they used to do work outside, okay, and they have taken the service of their mother for granted. They never used to show a kind of respect, okay, which their mother deserved actually, or the wife deserved. They didn't show, and that has actually given lot of pain to Mrs. Fitzgerald, who was their neighbor. Okay, now Mrs. Fitzgerald was just the counterfeit, you can say, the opposite of character of Mrs. Pearson. Okay, Mrs. Pearson was very much calm, submissive. Okay, always used to listen means her family member, daughter, son, and husband, and never used to protest. Okay, and on the other hand, Mrs. Fitzgerald was just the opposite of the character. She was very much arrogant, very much dominating, okay, and always tried to dominate. and to show the people, means used to talk the right thing at the right time without thinking that what would be the reaction. So Mrs. Fitzgerald, being the true friend of Mrs. Pearson and a good neighbor, wants to bring change in their family, and that's why she tried to teach the family members a lesson. Mrs. Pearson thought that is not possible. I never can do. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald had given kind of suggestion. What is her plan? She said that okay, if you cannot do, I can do. Then Mrs. Pearson said that's not possible. You are not a family member. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald said, okay, I know magic. I know magic means I have learned this art while staying in the eastern part of the world. Eastern part of the world means what? That India and all this part. Okay. So I have learned how to change character for a short while. It's not a permanent kind of a change, but we can exchange our character. I mean, for some time with the magical spell, I can, I can inhabit your character, and at that time you will be carrying my character. All right. So they will exchange their character. In this way, they will teach them a lesson. That was their plan. And in this way, we will see that one by one, Doris, Cyril, and George, how they are being taught the lesson and showed their real position, and it will make them understand that how they were ignoring the service of the mother or Mrs. Pearson. Alright, so this is the whole, and finally they actually understood the matter. Okay, that actually they should respect, they should give the right place, right respect, correct attitude they want to show to their mother, and for of course for the wife in case of George Pearson. So this is that is where the thing had ended. Okay, now we'll go to the text and try to understand a little bit today. We'll just do a little part of this one, Mother's Day today by J.B. Presley. This is the text. The following plays a humorous portrayal of the status of the mother in a family. Let's read on to see how Mrs. Pearson's family reacts when she tries to stand up for her own rights. Own right means what? Her own status in the family, her own position, correct position, what she deserves actually in that family, and that was she was being denied till now. Character Mrs. We already have discussed Mrs. Annie Pearson, George Pearson, Doris Pearson, Cyril Pearson, Mrs. Fitzgerald. The action takes place in the living room of the Pearsons' house in a London suburb. Suburb means suburban area, not a village, not a completely city. Setting of the scene has been given. Time present. Okay, now little bit part which is very important, that will so try to understand this part. Okay, let's start then. When the curtain rises, it is an afternoon in the early autumn, and the stage can be well lit. Mrs. Pearson at right and Mrs. Fitzgerald at left are sitting opposite each other at the small table on which 2 teacups and saucers and cards with which Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune. She was actually fortune teller with that tarot card you might have heard. So with that card they used to tell the fortune. Mrs. Pearson is a pleasant but worried. This is very important. Mrs. Pearson, how she is character trait, is a pleasant but worried looking woman in her 40s, 40 plus. Mrs. Fitzgerald is older, heavier, and strong and sinister personality. She is smoking. She is very important that these two should have sharply contrasting voices. Mrs. Pearson speaking in a light, flurried sort of tone with a tone of suburban Cockney perhaps, and Mrs. Fitzgerald with a deep voice, rather Irish perhaps. So Irish and Cockneys, these are the which is called different dialects of England, you can say. Okay. Now we'll see the conversation. Mrs. Fitzgerald collecting up the cards, and that's all I can tell you, Mrs. Pearson. Could be a good fortune, but could be a bad one. All depends on yourself now. Make up your mind, and there it is, Mrs. Pearson. Yes, thank you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. I'm much obliged. I'm sure it's wonderful having a real fortune teller living next door. Did you learn out that out east? In east means, she asked, to the, have you learned that in the east? So you can see this picture, both of them are sitting. You can see this one on my right, this is Mrs. Pearson, on my left Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay, and I'll go further. Mrs. Fitzgerald, I did 12 years I had of it with my old man, rising to be lieutenant quartermaster. He learned a lot and I learned a lot more. But will you make up your mind now, Mrs. Pearson dear? Put your foot down once and for all, and be the mistress of your own house and the boss of your own family. Very, very important statement. Stated what? Put your foot down once and for all, and be the mistress of your own house and be the boss of your family. You should not be the servant, rather you should be the boss of the family. That's what she wanted to say. Smiling apologetically, that's easier and said than done. Besides, I'm so see, Pearson said what? That's easier said than done. It's very easy to say, but very difficult to do. Besides, I'm so fond of them, even if they are so thoughtless and selfish. They don't mean to be. Actually said what? That maybe they do behave with me in this way, but still they may be selfish, they may be thoughtless, but I am fond of them. I cannot do anything against them, and I cannot protest and misbehave them. Mrs. Fitzgerald cutting in, maybe not, but it would be better for them if they learn to treat you properly. Mrs. Pearson, yes, I suppose it would, in a way, Mrs. Fitzgerald, no doubt about it at all. Who is better for being spoiled, grown man, lad or girl? Nobody. You think you does them good when you run after them all the time, take their orders as if they you were the servant in the house, stay at home for every night while they go out enjoying themselves. Never in all your life. It's the ruin of them as well as you. Husbands, sons, daughters should be taking notice of wives and mothers, not giving them orders and treating them like dirt. And don't tell me you don't know what I mean, for I know more than you have told me. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald told him what? That no, you are not doing any good to them by working like a servant for them. All the night they used to stay outside, they used to enjoy the whole world outside, okay, and you always remain at home working for them, taking care for them. Your son, daughter, husband should give the proper weightage and give the specific proper place. Okay, Mrs. Fitzgerald dubiously, confusingly, I keep dropping a hint. Mrs. Fitzgerald, hint? It's more than hints your family needs, Mrs. Pearson. Now Mrs. Pearson said, okay, I'll try to give a hint to them that they should respect me. Mrs. Fitzgerald said, no, hint don't work. They need a proper treatment. Mrs. Pearson obviously again, I suppose it is, but I do hate any unpleasantness, and it is so hard to know where to start. I keep making up my mind to have it out with them, for somehow I don't know how to begin. She glances at her watch or at the clock. Oh, God gracious, look at the time. Nothing's ready. They will be home any minute and probably all in a hurry to go out again. Now see, this is the last part. Very, very important. This said what? While talking with Mrs. Fitzgerald, she was thinking about the family members. She thought what? Whoa, God gracious. Look at the time. Nothing ready. They will be home at any minute and probably all in a hurry to go out. What she was saying, that nothing has been readied, so I should have to take care of everything and work like a servant for them, so that they may come, get, and they will be in a hurry to go out again. So I must have to look after everything. This is the attitude of Mrs. Pearson, typically mother's attitude. Now, as she is about to rise, Mrs. Fitzgerald reaches out across the table and pulls her down. Mrs. Fitzgerald, let them wait or look after themselves for once. There is where your foot goes down. Start now. She lights a cigarette from the one she had just finished. Mrs. Pearson embraced Mrs. Fitzgerald. I know you mean well. In fact, I agree with you, but I just can't. And it's not use you trying to make me. If I promise you I would really have it out with them, I know I wouldn't be able to keep my promise. Mrs. Pearson said, what? That I know they're doing bad with me, ill with me, unjustified way they have behaved with me. But I cannot, go against them. I cannot do be unpleasant, or I cannot be rough with them. Mrs. Phil, then let me do it. Then let me do it. So this much we have done. Next part we'll do in my next class. Now we'll see that how much we have done. We'll try to understand that much only. Okay, so advice of Mrs. Fitzgerald. The plan begins with two friends having a candid conversation at Mrs. Pearson's house. This is what actually we have done today in the text. That's what I have to give a recapitulation. Mrs. Fitzgerald is telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune and advises her on it. Mrs. Pearson goes about telling how her family members don't value her and don't appreciate whatever she does for them. She is available for them 24/7, and all they do is come in, throw orders around at her, and leave without even saying thank you. Mrs. Fitzgerald tells her to take her stand as the woman of the house, master of the house. Now, nature of Pearson. Mrs. Pearson, being a sweet and innocent lady, doesn't want to bring her family any sort of discomfort. She continues to handle her tantrums because she doesn't know where to begin when it comes to making them disciplined. How to make them disciplined, they don't know. Now, Mrs. Fitzgerald proposes a plan. Mrs. Fitzgerald proposes a plan to switch their bodies so that Mrs. Fitzgerald takes her place without her family knowing. Mrs. Pearson is hesitant at first, but then Mrs. Fitzgerald convinces her for it. Mrs. Fitzgerald performs her magic that she would learned from the East, and their personalities are changed. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald actually Mrs. Pearson's body, and vice versa. Now new Mrs. Pearson tells Mrs. Fitzgerald to go to her house for the time being. Now this is what this part actually we haven't done in the text, but for your pre-knowledge you will be able to use this one. So this much we have done today. I have given some assignments, so you will go through and complete the assignments. Okay, thank you very much.